We all know those people that get way more done than the rest of us, right? Like Elon Musk, for example. But what about those people that get way more done than the rest of us and they're not all stressed out? Well, that's what we want to tap into. We want to be able to do more in 12 weeks than we typically would do in 12 months or everybody else does in 12 months, but actually have more free time and have more productivity in the process. Yale University did a study with the 1952 graduating class, and they took a survey. They took a survey to see how many of that graduating class actually had written goals, plans, and visions for their future. 20 years later, they went back and interviewed those same students. Well, only 3% of the class had goals and visions of what they wanted their future to look like. Turns out that the 3% that actually had the goals and the visions of what kind of life they wanted to have were worth more in terms of wealth than the rest of the 97% combined. 3% more wealthy than the 97% because they just had a vision and goals for what they wanted for the future. Well, when I was at Flagler College, no Yale University by any stretch, I had something interesting happen as well. My first 2 years, I had really no idea what it was I wanted to do, career-wise, work-wise, basically surfing every day, partying, and barely getting by. I was teetering on academic probation, basically. And I knew I needed to take some time off of school and kind of get my head right, figure out really what I wanted to do with my life for the most part. So, of course, I went to the water, started surfing one day. And a buddy of mine paddles over and we're talking, and we always bartended and waited tables as surfers and college students. And he goes, I got this real job. I'm working for a company selling. I go, what are you doing? What do you mean selling what? He goes, it's a newspaper. They brought in a local branch here and it's selling advertisements to the local, businesses. Base plus commission, yada yada. And I was like, man, that sounds actually really cool. They have more openings or something. He's like, yeah, man, come check it out. Applied for the job, got the job. He and I crushed it for like the full year. I only worked there for a year because I had 1 year off of school. For 1 year, we absolutely crushed it. We were number one, number two salesperson. There was like 10 salespeople, and there was always having these sales, contests and stuff. We would just destroy it. It was so much fun that I was like, man, this is actually what I really want to do. I want to do something in sales, something dealing with people, and just doing that whole world of sales. It was actually really fun, much more fun than I thought it was going to be. I started thinking, I want to do sales, but I want to do something where I make really, really good money. That time, I knew a couple companies that I had looked at because some people I knew that were, older than me that were doing really, really well working for these companies and they were in sales. So I picked out this one company that I really wanted to work for and started finding out what it is they do, how they hired, this, that, and the other. You actually had to have a 3.2 GPA just to get an interview with them. Here I am at like bordering a 2. I think I had a 2.2. Literally, when that kind of hit me that I got to have a 3.2. I only have 2 years of school left. So I was like, man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to swing for the fences. I don't even know if I'm going to get a job, obviously. I'm just trying to get the interview process for 2 years, 2 full years and 1/2 semester. Because I wanted to retake, I had a couple classes with these, and I wanted to retake those classes. Plus, I had to do a 4.0 for the rest of my college career in order to even get close to that 3.2 GPA. So I went all out. And I got it. I had a 3.25, I think it was, when it was all said and done. And now I got to I'm just ready to get interviews, start doing interviews. So I started doing practice interviews. Anybody I knew that had companies that hired people for sales jobs, whatever I could do to just practice the interview process. And I got to be really good at interviewing on top of, being a sales guy kind of and selling myself to everybody. And they were recruiting at all the big colleges, and every guy that interviewed me said the same thing. This guy may not have the highest GPA of some of the other candidates, but if this dude can't sell, nobody can. This guy's a sales guy. You got to hire him. So, there was guys that were 4.0 students with, master's degree. I had a Bachelor of Arts, in business administration, basically, marketing background, real estate. Because I had that focus of what I wanted to do, a goal that I was focused on at the end of that next few years of school, it changed my entire perspective. That's the whole point, to define your vision, understand what it is you're going towards, so if you're going to hit it and how to hit it and how to do the whole process in between here and there. So now that you've defined your vision, like my vision was to get a job with that company, knew what it was I was shooting for now. Now I got a whole different type of mentality and urgency to get going and make things happen. Now we're going to break down what it is you got to do along the way. Just like I was going back to school, I had to get my classes retaken. It had D's in them. I had to 4.0 basically every class that I took along the way. I had to do my interviewing, get my interviewing skills down, get my sales skills down, practicing that along the way. You got to get very definitive on what it is, measurable results. Not that I'm just going to do more of this or more of that, or less of this or less of that. How much more? What is it I'm targeting for each one of these places along the way? And this vision can be 1 year, 3 year, like mine was, 2.5 years basically. It can be out there, 5 years. But you got to break down the process of things to do into shorter windows. So what would have been a 12-month, goal, you're going to break that down to 12 weeks, basically 3 months, because that puts a sense of urgency into it. Every single day counts. When you think about every day counting for 3 months, is not that long a time frame. 1 year, it's not that long, but 1 year is 1 year. It's like, man, I could screw off a little bit today and or not do this or not do that, and maybe it wouldn't really matter because it's 1 year away. How am I really going to know if that affected me or not? When you break down 1 year's worth of goals into 3 months, you got to giddy up to make that happen. And that's a great thing because you want to be accountable for that, to make that happen. And it gets you off the couch. It gets you off your butt. It gets you off the, don't feel like it today kind of mentality, and gets you into a place of, I got to do this, man. This is a lot of stuff to do in 3 months. You don't want to overwhelm yourself, but at the same time, you don't want to underwhelm yourself and give yourself so much time that every little thing you're doing doesn't seem like it matters. Let's take an example. Let's say your goal, I'm going to get my real estate license over the next year and become a real estate agent. Or I'm going to become a certified life coach over this next year. All this while you're working a full-time job, by the way. So I don't know if you have a 1 year goal set ahead of you right now or not, but let's just say you do. You got 1 year goal, and now you've just shortened it down to 3 months. What you got to ask yourself first, are the actions I'm taking right now the right actions that are going to get me where I'm trying to go in 3 months? And if they are, great. Keep moving along, doing what you're doing, working out just perfect. But if they're not, what is it you have to do now to add into that so that you can get to this process, speed up the process, I should say, and get to that goal in 3 months? Once we set the actions, are we taking the proper actions to get where we're supposed to go in the next 3 months? Do what we have to do, sign up for classes, whatever the case is, whatever your goal is, we're going to do the same thing going from 1 month, 1 week, and 1 day. So you're going to define for the first month, what is the outcome I am after in the first month? Define that outcome. Define the outcome for each month along the way, as a matter of fact, that you have to hit, like points of progress in order to get to the goal in the 3 month time frame. Same thing goes for each week, building up to that. Am I doing in this 1 week, each week, to build up to this month, that's going to create the outcome I'm looking for in that 1 week so that I can get to that month goal? You're just literally building and stacking these the same way. Same thing goes for 1 day. Am I doing today what's going to get me to the end of this week and meet my 1 week goal? And keep asking yourself these questions. And if I'm not doing what I need to do, what can I do differently? The thing to this is questions, asking yourself the question. Number 3, one thing. So just like I was saying when I was in college, I was focused on classes at certain points along the way. That was first and foremost because I had to get those classes done. I had to retake certain classes. I had to do very, very well in them. So I singularly focused on those courses and making sure I was acing those courses for certain periods along the way. Same thing went for the interviewing process. You have to reduce down, not do more, but actually do less better. The more you try to do at one time, the less you do well. It's just a bunch of stuff half done all the time. We have to close loops. And that's why you want to break it down. That's why this whole process is reducing down to smaller time frames and smaller windows so that you can focus on little things at a time and get those loops closed, man. Get those things started and close them. Building that win mentality or building momentum, whatever you want to call it. The biggest advantage to having one thing to focus on in these shorter time frames is it actually eliminates distractions automatically. And here's the thing about distractions. Every time we get distracted when we're working on something, we got all our focus and concentration on something, and then we get distracted by a phone message coming up or this or that, whatever. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes to get back into that same place you were prior to that distraction hitting you so that you get back into the flow and the productivity, efficiency that you were prior to that distraction hitting you. More we automatically eliminate all these things are going to continue to come at us, the faster we're actually going to move towards what it is we're trying to do. You want to see the progress. You want to be measurable progress along the way. And that's what this is. It's measurable progress along the way. And it's taking out all the things that really are difficult to take out of our lives right now because we've become accustomed to it. Once you've done this and you've started making stuff happen by putting in the smaller windows and focusing on one thing at a time, you don't want to do these other things. You don't want to have these other distractions. Your brains actually starts going, wow, thank you for not constantly tuning me into something else just because you got a second to think, or habit of just jumping on something every time you got a spare second in the car or wherever. It's just gotten crazy. Once you start doing this and do it for a certain time frame, about 30 days, your first 1 month and going through this process, you'll be amazed. It'll change you. It'll change what it is your brain works like. Ask yourself those questions. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? If you knew success was guaranteed, what activities would you pursue? Which actions would you take? And let your mind go there. Get excited, get inspired, and really let your brain go there and keep it going there so that it keeps working in that fashion. And then set some goals. Set goals that can actually start pulling you towards that vision that you have for your life, that you want to have in your life, the person you want to be. And do this breakdown process to reach goals, to make goals, because just setting goals are just they're pointless unless you have a process to get there and you have actions to get you along the way. And then singularly focus. Eliminate those distractions. Focus on one thing at a time so you can close loops and get progress, build wins, build momentum. But once you start doing this and building it up small things at a time and building into bigger things and the bigger thing, then you start getting really confident and it's fun. You actually really enjoy doing it because like you say, I'm going to do something and you know you're going to actually follow through and do it. It gets exciting. So give it a shot. You know the process, and stay tuned. We'll do some more of this on the next ones.